Good evening, this is Quintus Curtius. Welcome back to Fortress of the Mind. And in this podcast, I'll be doing something that I have not done in a while, maybe even a couple months, and that is to answer readers' emails, to answer some emails that I received from readers asking questions about different life situations and wanting to get some input or advice on various different things. So let's do that. Let's dive right into that. This first question is from a guy who works at a government job, and I'm not going to give too many details about this guy's situation, but the basic gist of it is he wants to know how to handle a situation where he's afraid that his current boss might write him a negative evaluation or might not give him a good recommendation to another job that he's applying to right now. This is the situation. He works at a job, a government type of job, and he wants to transfer from his current position to a new and better position in a different country. And as part of this job application process, he has to get recommendations from current and previous employers, which is a common thing that has to be done whenever you're applying for a job in a new place. But he says that he's very valued in his current position, and he's afraid that his current boss might resent the fact that he's leaving or wants to leave, and basically might try to screw him on the way out. It's kind of a common feature you hear about with jobs, is the old, screw the guy over on his way out the door. And he's always done a good job at his various positions, but he says that his current boss has made it clear that he needs him there, and he wants him there. And the guy who's asking me the question is afraid that this new prospective employer that he is applying to might call back, or this current boss might write a recommendation that might not be very good. He's afraid that his current boss is going to screw him, basically, in applying for this new job position. So my questioner's issue is he's afraid that that's going to happen, and he's wondering if he should preemptively call the new employer and say something like, "Hey, my current boss might say something bad about me. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Blah 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 blah." He thinks that he might need to do some preemption, is what he thinks. And this is my opinion on that. Okay, I've been in these types of situations before, and first of all, it's obvious that this is kind of this guy who's asking me this question is a younger guy, because it's usually the younger guys who obsess about things, overthink things, stress about things, worry about things. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I'm not saying that to be critical. I'm just saying that a lot of the younger guys, I've noticed, they tend to cogitate about things. They think about things, they analyze them, they reanalyze them. And in so doing, they tend to overthink things. They tend to give things more importance than they deserve. And in many ways, it's kind of endearing, because it reminds me of when I was that age, when I was in my 20s or 30s. And, you're always stressing about every little thing and worried about what someone's going to think and the implications and complications of all this stuff. So let me give you my opinion. All right. First of all, my advice to this guy is you can't control what other people do. The first thing you need to get through your cranium is you cannot control what other people do or say. Okay, you cannot control that. So obsessing about it and stressing about it is a waste of time. And if you allow your anxieties and your obsessions and your worries to take hold of you, other people are going to pick up on it. If you in any way communicate with or contact this new prospective boss or employer, and in any way communicate that you're worried about what your current boss is going to say, he's going to think that there's something wrong, okay? you're going to create a problem where there is no problem. So don't do that. Don't do anything. Calm down is my advice. Calm down, chill your ass out. Do your job. Focus on the job at hand. Don't worry about the implications or complications or the permutations of what may happen or might not happen and all this other bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. Focus on the job at hand. That's what you need to do now. Focus on the job at hand, and things will take care of themselves. If you start to allow your fears and worries to control your thoughts, people are going to pick up on that, and and I guarantee the new employer is going to think that there's something wrong with you, and you're not going to get the job. Okay, so don't shoot yourself in the foot. Have faith to some degree with the judgment of others. People are not stupid. Anyone who's been in the job market knows that employers who are petty, who are mean-spirited, who are incompetent, who are dorks, they do things like this. They hold back. They resent the fact that their underlings want to get better jobs over their heads. They know that. It's not a surprise. You don't need to explain that. You don't need to analyze that. You don't need to talk about that. This new employer should already know that that's the work dynamic that's going on. And if he's anyone of any brain power, he's going to see through the negative reviews or negative recommendations of someone who's being malicious. Have faith. Have faith. If you've done a good job through your work career, you should already have a track record in place. So this new boss is going to be able to see right off the bat whether you're worth a shit or not. Okay? And if some jackass boss tries to say something that runs counter to your track record, he's going to know that. If you're a shitbag, yeah, it might influence him because other people have said the same thing. But if you've got a good track record, someone randomly saying something negative about you is not going to resonate. People aren't stupid. People know what's going on. So my advice to you is chill out, relax, stop trying to control everybody, stop trying to control events, focus on the job at hand, and good things will happen. The best things that have happened in my life have come about when I just stopped obsessing about things. Stop worrying about it. Like a twig moving down the current in a mighty stream, you have to imagine yourself just going with the flow. All right? Now, having said all that, I will say that there is a very, very small percentage of people in the world who are truly malicious and will try to do malicious things. So you should monitor the situation in the sense that you should, if possible, try to probe, if you can, indirectly, after the fact, after you've gotten the new job. And if you find out that someone has said malicious things about you behind your back, then you need to file that away for future reference. But I don't think any of that's really necessary. It's very rare for people to do something that's truly malicious for no reason. It does happen. And I will say this, in extreme situations, if you find that someone has written a fitness report or an evaluation that goes into your personal file in some job, and if it's truly based on malice, if it's not based on fact, if it's not based on the truth, if it's an anomaly, then there may be a way to protest it. There may be a way to contest it and have it removed from your record. There is a way to do things like that in the military. I know that. I know that for a fact. If you find that you've got some boss who writes you a negative fitness report that's truly malicious and is not reflective of the truth, you can get affidavits from people who worked with you, who served with you, who know the type of job that you did, who know that you did a good job, and you can get statements from people, and you can have negative information that's put in your file thrown out. But that's rare. In other words, you can appeal something. to maybe some higher board of records or something. But I'm not saying that's necessary. I'm just saying that there may be a mechanism in the job that you have to deal with malicious paper writers. I'm not saying that you're going to have to use that, because I think your default rule should be just to calm down and watch what happens. But what I am saying is that there is a very small percentage of people in the world who might try to do something that's truly malicious. And if so, you take the action that you need to take. You find out what the procedure is for appealing or disputing things, and you deal with it in that way. So that should be an answer, I think, that you can wrap your mind around. All right, let's go to the next question here. The next question, this is a different guy. And he's writing about casual dress culture. He says, do you believe our culture here in the U.S. has become way too casual with how we dress and how we look? To me, it seems like we've devolved a great deal compared with previous generations. One of my favorite movies, Road to Perdition, highlights how men and women dressed in the 1920s, 30s, and it was much more formal and elegant back then. I think we could go further as a country and culture if people dressed up more, both at work and outside of work within reason. I'm curious for your thoughts on this matter. Of course, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We have, in general, decayed in our standards and in our haberdashery, if you want to use that word. We have declined, I think, in our appearance. You go out now to a public space and you see people that are disgustingly overweight. You see women dressed in yoga pants. You see men dressed like bums who just rolled out of bed, unshaven, unkempt, overweight. Yes, we have declined. We have decayed as a people, as a culture, and in our dress and our manners and our ethics in every conceivable way. You're absolutely right. And do I think that we need a general improvement in dress? Absolutely, I think we need that. Because it ties into standards. What's been lost really over the past 60, 70 years is the whole idea of standards, the whole idea of accountability. It didn't matter in the old days whether you were rich or poor. If you went out in public, you were expected to look like a presentable human being, not like a disgusting bum. Because it's, why? The reason why? It's a matter of respect. It all comes down to respect. And that's what a lot of these people out there now lack. They mistakenly think that, it's my body, I can do whatever I want. It's my body, I can become a fat, disgusting loser if I want, or I can go around dressed like a bum with a t-shirt and rags hanging off me, like a unwashed, unkempt bum. And that's okay because it's my choice. Well, you know what? My answer to that is no, it isn't your choice. It is not your choice. You are part of a society that is bonded collectively of individuals. Every man, every woman has a responsibility to every other member in that society to live up to some minimum standard of care. There's a minimum quantum of care that needs to be displayed by every member of society. We don't ask much, but you're expected to show respect. You're expected to show some degree of respect to other people. And part of that covenant of respect is not to offend people with your filthy, degenerate appearance. Because it is offensive, and I don't think I'm overreacting when I say that. When you go out and when you see someone who doesn't care, doesn't know, doesn't listen, has no respect for himself or for others, it's offensive. It makes me think that not only does this person not respect himself, he doesn't respect anybody. Because if you don't respect yourself, even to provide for a minimum level of decorum and decency, then how are you going to treat other people? That's what it says to me. That's what it says to me. It's about respect. And that's what I think we're lacking now, is they don't respect anybody. The people, these degenerate, disgusting monsters that you see, and they truly are monsters. In many ways, It's almost a degenerative form of humanity. Someone who just allows their body to just completely become an object of horror. It's pathetic. It truly is. And it's not about poor or rich or middle class. It's not about money. It doesn't cost very much to take care. It costs very little to take care of yourself. And I'm not saying that people should go around dressed in 3-piece suits. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is there's no reason for most people to be grossly obese. There's no reason at all for people to allow their grooming to decline to such a level where they literally look like they're just dipped in grease. There's no reason for that. None. It's unacceptable. And unfortunately, we live in a society now where you're not allowed to hold people to any standards. You're not allowed to hold them to standards. They think they can do whatever they want. People think they can say what they want, they can do what they want, and you have to just accept it. And this is the problem. This really is the problem. It's a matter of degenerative ethical views of what it means to be in a society. When you're living in a society, you have a responsibility not to just to yourself. Okay, you're not an island unto yourself where you can just do whatever you want. What you do, what you say, how you behave affects everyone else. And you're expected to toe the line. And if you can't do that, then in the old days, you were forced to do that. You were made to do that through social conditioning, through shaming, through other remedial measures. And it's a shame that we've lost that. But maybe the pendulum will swing back to how it was. At some point, I think people are going to realize that, hey, we've lost the ability to discipline people, because this is really where dress codes really come into play, are in schools when students are young. You've got to use that as a way to enforce discipline. It's a critical, absolutely critical way of enforcing discipline. Absolutely critical. And we knew that for centuries. But of course, in the 60s and 70s and after that, everyone thought that they could just throw out all those centuries of experience and just think they can just do whatever they want. And we've seen what the results of that are. What the results of that are is what we have now. We have a society of no discipline, no standards, no respect, no morals. So that's my views on that. Those are my views. And the final question here, same guy, a different question. He says, reaching out to help younger men. He says, given the recent upsetting news as of late with regards to the school shooting in Florida, how can we as men who listen to your podcast and are aware of the recent attacks on masculinity, what can we do to help out and reach young and even older guys in our community? There are organizations out there like Big Brother, Big Sister, but I believe there is a serious need for a men's-only club, like in the old days, to be started. More than just a virtual forum or website, to my mind. In America especially, we need a men's-only club place where we can mentor, help guys out, especially if they're going through a tough time. Well, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I wish that I had better things that specific organizations I could point to, but sadly they just don't exist anymore. That's really one of the tragedies, is that all of the institutions out there that used to inculcate younger men with masculine virtues, with the idea of bonding and standards and learning those traditions, have all been converged, have all been dismantled by the ethic of the era, which is, you know what it is. You've seen what's happened to the schools. You've seen what's happened to the churches, what's happened to, like, say, the Boy Scouts. You've seen all of these organizations that used to provide some level of, at least something, of teaching young men how to act, how to behave, how to learn productive and useful things, they've all been diluted. Let's put it that way, to put it in a polite way. I don't know really. I'm trying to keep this as polite as I can, but they've all been dismantled. They've all been allowed to be turned into like everything else in society now. So, that being the case, I have to tell you, I think that we're going through a very dark period right now. We're going through a very much a dark age, if you want to call it that. And the best that we can all do is to try to stay true to those traditions and customs of the olden days, and try to pass them on to others. Try to read the books that are out there. Try to adopt the habits of the great exemplars of history. And if you have a chance to try to help out a younger guy, like on a one-on-one basis, then you should do that. You should do that. Or if you have a chance to speak to a group of students, or if you have a chance to have an effect on younger people's lives, then you should do that. But in terms of formal organizations to join, there's just honestly, there just really aren't any that come to mind. I mean, I still do think that the military is worth joining, even though it's also in many ways adopted a lot of these talking points, these politically correct talking points that I think are not to its mission and not to its benefit. I think it still is better than nothing, and I would still recommend it. But in terms of organizations, other than that, I can't say that I see them out there. I think now we're in a situation, and we're in a period now where each man has to try to keep the torch alive in his own way, and you can do it in many ways. Whatever my advice is, find out what you're good at, find out what your talent is, and find a way to impart that talent to someone else. That's the best thing you can do, because young men listen to example. They're not going to listen to you just preaching to them. They want to see you set the example. And that's really what you need to try. If you really want to try to have an impact on someone's life, what you can do is try to find a way that you're using your skill in a way that you're communicating it to someone else. Like, I don't know what you're good at. If you're good at music, try to use that. If you're good at writing, use that. If you're good at speaking, use that. If you're good at whatever, sports, do something. There's always a way. But everyone has to make that decision in his own way, in his own time. Every man has to kind of find out what is the best way to bring about that change. I know what I do. I found that writing is the vehicle. Writing and translating are the vehicles that, for me, are what I'm good at, and so those are the ways that I communicate my worldviews out there. But everyone has to find his own way. So I wish I had a better answer for you about that, because there really aren't any specific clubs or organizations that I can think of, but I do think they are important. And in the old days, many of them existed, not just in schools, but in fraternities in college. There were guilds, there were business organizations, all these business organizations now that are basically just jokes. At one point served a useful purpose. They were guilds. They were ways for like-minded individuals to get together and to bond. But the problem is, we're living in a society now where masculinity is somehow looked upon as somehow bad or somehow suspect. And it's deeply offensive, and it's wrong, and it's harmful. And we're going to pay a very, very high price for that in the years ahead if it continues. We really are. And time will tell. So those are my thoughts on those three questions. So if you have any additional follow-ups, feel free to let me know. But those are my thoughts on those three things. So I will sign out here for now, and we will come back next time with different subjects to discuss. I'm Quintus Curtius. Good night.